Welcome to season 2024 of Lift as We Rise. I am Roshni Gadger, and I'm really excited to be connecting with you again after what seems like a really long time. Our last podcast was uploaded in August 2023, and for no other reason except for really good opportunities and work responsibilities, which kept me busy for Q4 2023. We took a bit of a pause on this podcast, but great to be back with you. And to all those regular listeners who sent comments, emails, and just inquiries of what is happening, really appreciate your support, and it's never ever taken for granted. If you are new to Lift as We Rise, welcome, and I trust that you're going to get a good return on your listening time today. Before we get into it, a shout out to MobiLearn Africa, our digital tech partner. Without MobiLearn Africa, we could not be bringing you this podcast at high quality at no cost to you. So thank you, MobiLearn Africa. You can check out their work. And a slight tweak to our podcast format that I thought to share with you, that is that our primary platform will be Apple Podcast rather than YouTube, simply because of the policy violations on YouTube that it picks up, which is quite sensitive, and sometimes that makes it tough for us to upload these on time. So look out on both platforms if you don't find it on YouTube. So 2024 has started with a big bang, and this week the World Economic Forum released its annual risk report, and a new risk has emerged, and the voice that's loudest behind this risk is the youth. That risk is the lack of economic opportunity coupled with rising inflation. This risk now speaks to Sustainable Development Goal number 8, decent jobs and economic growth. For leaders in organizations and business, this is super complex because there is no blueprint for navigating a highly polarized society and a highly digitized landscape. For the young people, this is a significant issue because they are the future innovators and future leaders in business and organizations. So, of course, we must bring the youth into these conversations. And today, we kick off the 2024 season speaking to my colleague and associate, Alexander Ulehoff, a colleague and associate in F1 in Schools project. Alexander leads F1 in Schools in Germany. Hi, Alexander. It's great to finally be having this conversation with you and sharing it with our listeners.
Yeah, hey, Roshni. It's nice to being in your podcast. I'm very honored that you asked me, and yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Thanks, Alexander. So F1 in Schools, for those who haven't heard about it, is an educational STEM program. It focuses on applied STEM through a fun, high-performance extracurricular activity that's run at schools. There is a program that builds onto that going into universities. This type of program doesn't only attract bright STEM minds, it also attracts future designers, number crunchers, and of course marketers. Now, Germany as a country, which is what Alexander represents in this program, is known for its quality, efficiency, progress, and of course technology. The problem that's raised in the World Economic Forum report globally is that in EU, the economy is not growing at a rapid pace. It grew by less than 1% in 2023, and they estimate that the German economy has declined by 0.3%. In Africa, while the rest of the world is grappling with the challenge of an aging population, by 2030, Africa will be home to 42% of the youth in the globe. That means that Africa will have the largest pool of young talent in the world by 2030. So the issues when it comes down to risk and sustainability are threefold. The low economic opportunity, which we've identified, coupled with labor shortage, because we just don't have the skills that we need. And thirdly, in a country like South Africa, continuing unemployment and, of course, underemployment, because the skills are redundant and not future ready. From a trade and commercial perspective, the trade relations between Germany and South Africa have been healthy and are deeply rooted for a number of decades now, particularly in the auto and allied industries. From a skills perspective in the auto and allied industries, it's already competing with the tech sector for high-quality STEM skills. So this is why we invest in programs such as F1 in Schools, which is focused on STEM. And Alexander and I thought it would be really interesting for you to hear this conversation that we have started having offline. So Alexander, turning to your program and to Germany in general then, what are some of the biggest challenges facing young people in Germany?
So I think one of the biggest challenges the young people are facing here in Germany is the quite big chances to do basically everything. So you had the big universities in Germany, in Hamburg and Munich and so on, and you can study nearby everything, and everyone wants to study something, but we also have the companies who will teach the new students from the A levels to do a job, and not everyone had to study. But I think a big positive thing is that mostly all of the education system in Germany is free. So for the universities, you pay a little amount of money for every semester, but that's all. And I think the biggest challenge is to find the job where is your passion, because it's you got so many options and you had to choose your one option. I mean, sure, you can change your job in quite amount of time so often, but I think for a successful career you need a job where you are passionate in it. And I think that's the biggest challenge, to find this job where your passion is.
And in countries like South Africa, Alexander, where you have the passion and you know where it is, and those opportunities aren't readily available in the job market, that creates tremendous anxiety and stress for young people. So
definitely. And I think what you said, the F1 in Schools program is one of the things to show the kids and the students what is possible in the environment of automotive design and all the things our great competition is in it, because it's not only the design elements and the management elements, it's also the production elements and the construction elements with the CHD program and so on. So I think it's a big chance in this competition to get to know different rules in a safe environment. So I think it's a big bonus for every country who is competing in this competition.
Yeah, and I think for every young child and young person out there, it's important to have a dream, and for mentors and those who are on the other side to support that dream as far as possible. So if we look at German schooling system then, which is different to the South African schooling system, can you maybe take us through the role of STEM in the curriculum as it stands at the moment?
Yeah, so as you know, I'm not a learned teacher, but I can say what I know from my school career. So the STEM theme is taking the start of the STEM theme is at the higher schools, so up to grade 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So before that, in the elementary school, it's more like we look at the nature and do something fun for testing these STEM actions. But in Germany, it starts really at the 5th grade, and then it goes up. In Germany, we had a lot of school competitions from low level where you get the task and you have to do it, and then the best one get the prize, and then you get some middle things where you can present your own theme, and then you are judged from a jury, and then you get the prizes, or you get the, let's say, high-level competitions like F1 in Schools, and every school is free to choose which at which competition they want to compete. So that's the most difficult part for us, to get into the schools who had already many beautiful and great competitions, to get in the schools and say, okay, your school, do you want to compete at F1 in schools? Because it's a lot of work for the schools, for the teacher, and for the students. So that's the hard thing, that it's not, the education is not governmental thing, it's the thing of the districts. So Germany has 16 districts, so in every district is the major for their own education. So the education system in Hamburg and the curriculum in Hamburg is something different than in Bavaria, as an example. So that's the quite hard thing in Germany, to get all the schools in it, or get many schools in it, because you need to go to every school and ask if they want to compete. So that's the hard one. But I think it's beautiful that every school can pick their own competitions for the students, because every school is different because of the students and the level their students are. So it's quite a nice thing that every school can pick their competition for the school.
Alexander, do these programs all run as extracurricular, or are they part of the mainstream curriculum?
Yeah, so all the competitions run out of the curriculum, kind of, because as example in Hamburg there's a part of the curriculum that says that the students have to compete in one of the competitions. But in Bavaria it's maybe you can choose this part of the curriculum where you have to compete in a competition. So it's kind of the middle thing between it's in the curriculum and it's extracurriculum, and that is also the hard part, because it's in every district of Germany different. So it's you had to think in every district new for these competitions.
That's quite interesting. And then after grade 12, Alexander, what happens then?
So after the grade 12, so then we in Germany get our A level. So, some schools have the 13th grade, and then they got their A level, and then you are able to study or to go into a company and learn a job. So after grade 12 or 13, then it's the end of the school, and then you can study, and then you are allowed to study with your A levels.
Fantastic. So Alexander, how long has F1 in schools been running in Germany?
So we are starting now on the 18th season, so we are running it since 18 years. And the great thing is that we are always at the World Championships all over the world, and we are always kind of successful. Sometimes we get the third place, we get the second place. In 2015 we get the World Champion title within collaboration team from the USA together. And now in 2023, the last season, we get the first time the only German world champion. The guys are from Bavaria, very nice young people, and they did an extremely good job and won within incredible amount of points before the second and the third, and that was an amazing success for the competition to get now in the 18th season.
Wow, Alexander. So you starting off at school, you form teams of 6 to run the program, but ultimately the aim is to compete at a level where you are invited to go to the World Finals. And you spoke about the collaboration team with the US. Give us a sense of how those collaboration teams work.
Yeah, so it was before my time as an ICC, but I heard something from the competition. So I heard that always collaboration teams are very difficult. It's the difficult part of the competition if you get a cooperation team, because it's the kind of the different cultures in every country and the different settings in the person inners to do something. So, as example, our German teams, when they get to the World Finals, they are very strict and walk forward and want to do this particular path. And some other countries, maybe the US, is like, but we look left and right what the possibilities. But the German teams always had the plan for the World Finals if they win the German Championship. So that's kind of difficult, and that's the difficult point as the ICCs from the countries too, because to see, can it match? If yes, then you get a collaboration team with the allowance of the headquarter, but if not, then you have to say, okay guys, I think that's not going to run. And that's I think one of the hard parts also as the ICC, to know people and to get to know people and how they could work together. But I think the opportunities of the collaboration teams are something good, and for the upcoming 2024 World Championships, Germany will only send 2 Germany teams and no collaboration team.
Alexander, and the ability to collaborate and manage relationships, it's such a core leadership requirement in the age we're living in now, and we're seeing collaborations politically and in other ways not being so successful. And I think if young people can get that exposure at an early age through a program like this, that is really high quality exposure and experience that they can bring to their future employer.
Yeah, and it's what is wonderful to see. I was at the 2023 World Finals in Singapore. It was very amazing. The headquarters did a great job with their World Finals with 68 teams from all over the world. I think from 32 countries. I think so. It was the biggest World Championship ever in the history of F1 in schools. So it was perfectly. And the beautiful thing that I see, what you said already with the cooperation between some countries, if you are on the World Finals, you are the top of the top of the top. You are the under 1% of the whole competition to get there. And so many students in the last season, it was, I think, 1.8 million students worldwide that competed in this competition. And you are one team from 68 teams that are on the World Finals, so you are under the 1%. And there is a competition, but it's not this thing you broke a wheel off and you enjoy it, but it's the other way around. You see one team broke their wheel off in the race or something else, and you run to your pit display, get glue, and run back to the team who broke off his wheel and say, here's my glue, and use it that and that way. And I think that shows the possibility that that many parts can get to the goal. So if one team design their car and do their car in one way, it's not the wrong way because I did it in the other way. I think that is the most important thing to see at the World Finals and in the original competition and national competitions, that if I go my way, another way isn't wrong. It could be to the same conclusion, and maybe one path is better or one path is not so good, but the sense of it is that you see that many parts can get the same conclusion.
Yeah, and that is a principle of creative thinking and creative solutions, and more importantly, the principles of accountability. You're there representing stakeholders, your team, your country, and you've got to do what it takes if you want to achieve success. What's your experience in that regard, Alexander?
My experience in the way of success is if you want to be able to go to the World Finals, there have to be a mixture of strict work ways. So if you get a task, you do your task, and because your teammates trust in you that you do this particular part or this particular quest that they gave to you. But at the other side, it's very important to work as a team, so every team member knows what the other do and what work he puts in or she puts in, because it's nothing worse than you had a team, and one of my own teams in my students' time had this problem. 2 or 3 people have done all the work, and all the others were, great, you put a layer on the car or something like that, and then they don't know what kind of work it was. So that what I experienced in my own time as at the competition, as a member of the competition, that if your team knows what you do and you work as a team, that is a big point to get to the world finals. And I mean, that's the aim for everyone, the first aim, to get to the world finals, to get to the nationals, and after that get to the world finals, and after that then clearly it's the aim to get the best result you can get for your country and for your own team. But I think the most common aim is every time to get to the world finals, and I think that big point for it to work as a team. And if you do something that was wrong, or if you got the failure, that you say, no, maybe Roshni did the failure, or Roshni did something wrong, we did something wrong, and we improve it in that and that way. I think that's the most important thing, to work and live as a team. And I see it at our world final, at the world finals, at our world champion, and all the teams that were at the 2023 World Championship from Germany. We had 4 teams. They work as a team, and I think that's one of the most important things.
Yeah, and when you hear team principals like Toto Wolff at Mercedes AMG talk about teamwork there's a high focus on we win together and we also lose together. So the principle of we is core to teamwork. And I always find in my coaching work, this is where the conundrum comes in with high performers. Because when you are measuring yourself on a level of high performance, what is the balance between I and my achievement, and balancing that with the needs of a team? Have you come across any examples like that in your journey, Alexander?
Yeah, totally. Because in Germany there's a sentence, you say, the team is only as strong as the weakest kind of a team. So the weakest person in the team, or weakest person in the team, is this point where the team stands. So if you get a team with all high performers and everyone does their job and they work as a team, the team is very strong, as Mercedes AMG Petronas in the F World and F1 World for so many years, I think 7 years in a row, the Constructors World Championship. There's a reason why they are so good, because they work as a team. And I think that's kind of things that I at myself experienced in this competition when I competed in it, that if your team works well and every single high performer work for an aim that everyone wants to achieve, then everyone is able to work in a team. Sometimes it's all the mind thing that you say, okay, I work this hard, then everyone has to work the same way. But it's not that. It's the mixture of all the people in the team. And I think if you understand this really early and quick in the competition or in your general life, I think it's a great achievement. And you can get very far if you get a great team.
Alexander, thanks for unpacking that. And I thought it was important to get into that level of experiential discussion, because even though an education system or a business can offer these types of training programs or gamified programs, it's in the application and in the participation that those experiences help you learn and grow in a different way.
Yeah, totally. And the headquarters has a very beautiful sentence. Shout out to the headquarter, Andrew and all them. They always say the F1 in schools program is a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and it's on the point, this sentence, because you can compete 1, 2, 3, 4 times in this competition, but every time it's new. Every time it's new, and you knew the how championship works and so on. But every time you do a new car, you had maybe new team members and so on. So every time, if you competed something new regulations and something like that, and you had to focus on that new things and to work on it, but also had to work on the old things that already work. So you had to, to work on everything, and that's a great part of the competition and the competitions in general to say that we have to work as a team.
Yeah, and some of the biggest lessons are learned in failure on the road to success. And those are the types of lessons that one's exposed to when you're required to work in a team and things are moving fast and you've got high levels of accountability whilst you're doing your schoolwork.
Yeah, totally. And that's the thing, what you said, the biggest learnings is in the failure, and we see so many teams that their first regional finals, they don't get ready their car or don't finish their portfolios and something like that. And then in the next year they come back stronger because they organize their new things and maybe change some team members or something. But many teams who competed at the first time at the regional finals and get the spirit and the fire of the competition, they learn from their failure and get back stronger.
And this speaks to the principle of resilience. How do you bounce back from that failure and build that confidence to come back and compete yet again amongst the brightest minds in the world? And this is not only about this F1 in schools challenge, it's about the importance of applied STEM and applying it in a practical sense so that maths and science at school becomes fun. Did you find that when you participated, Alexander?
Yeah, kind of. So I think the applied STEM is a really important thing in the school education system and also in our world outside of the school because the applied science bring us to the momentum where we are now with the driving cars and our cell phones and all the things. So I think if you are competing in the STEM challenge, whatever it is, F1 in schools or something like that or something other, you learn how to work with a problem you maybe made on your own or you get the tasks from the competition. And if you know how to get on a problem, it's at the most times not as big as you thought at the beginning. So I think that's the good thing at the school system. You can learn how to do something and do some applied STEM and so on, but you have a safe space because the school is the safe space where you can learn it and can fail but without consequences. And I think that's the very important thing at all school systems, that the school is a safe place to learn and to fail without consequences.
Thanks, Alexander. So you spoke to us about the success story at the 2023 World Finals for Team Recoil, I think it was, from Germany. Tell us a little bit more about the success story. How did it come about? Why did it take Germany that long to take the number one spot? But more importantly, Alexander, what does that type of achievement mean to schools and to sponsors in Germany?
Yeah, so if we start at the beginning from recall racing, it's the season always begins in Germany at the September when all the guys get back from their holiday, from their summer holiday, and then they start to do the teamwork and also on all the things, and then they get the regulations, and at the 1st of December there is the end of the registration. So, and then they started in 2022 for the 2023 regional finals in the south of Germany, and they built as a team and done all the work, and then at the regional finals they won everything, every special prize. They are at top of the list with way more points than every other and so on. And then they go to the German finals in May last year, and they also dominated the German finals. They run all through the judges, and everyone was hyped and was all recalled. It's a great team. They work so well together. So yeah, they win the German championship in 2023, and then they stand for the decision, do they want to compete for the World Finals? Because the school was in 2014 and 2015 at the World Finals with other teams. And then they had a break, and now they are in it with the recall team. And the teacher said, okay, you have 1 week to think about it. If you want to do the World Finals, we do it all in, or we did it not. That's your decision. And they work to the go to the principal and with the teachers and all, and say, okay, we want to do the World Finals all in. They all canceled their holiday in the summer and worked all the summer, and grew as a team and worked so hard. And then they get to the World Finals, but they weren't as arrogant as some other teams maybe be when they win the regionals and the German finals in their first year. They were friendly, and all the kinds, and very nice guys at the World Finals. And then they done their thing. They concentrated on their success at the first 2 championships, and then they concentrate on their results for the World Finals and presented it and done all the things. And I think one of the main parts that is difficult for Germany to get the World Finals or to get to world title is that English is not our main language in Germany. We get it taught in schools, yes, and it's important, but we are not native speakers. So the native speakers like USA, England, or UK in general, Australia, South Africa, all the countries where English is the native language had it so much easier because of the barrier of the language. So all the German teams and France teams and from Malaysia and all the guys had to think about certain vocabulary. But for the native English guys, it's their way to speak. So that's more difficult, and because of that, I'm very, very proud that the recall guys get the verbal presentation award. So it was the best verbal presentation of all the teams against the UK teams and the England teams and the US teams and the Australian teams. So that is a big achievement to show if you work hard on your things and if you are kind and friendly and had fun with the thing on itself, then you can help, or it can help you to bring up the fire, and then it's not as important if you know the right vocabulary or not. So, and the world title is one of the big achievements last year for our competition. So yeah, we spoke to some sponsors and they know we are world champions, but it's a long way to get sponsors for the competition, because it's a big competition in Germany, and you know the companies want to be not as involved as they maybe can involved, and that's I think the main problem in Germany. We are very reserved in some things, and I think that's one point that had to change for the next years, that companies are motivated to do something new and to get into it. But yeah, from the world title we get some doors open to speak with people where we're not able to speak with them before the world before we got the world title. So yeah, it opened some doors, but it's a long way to go.
Your example highlights the importance of respecting diversity. So you lifted the language example, and as global citizens, our future leaders, innovators, employers will be working all over the world and not necessarily in their native language. So that ability to adapt and rise to the challenge is certainly a requirement that one can learn through these types of application programs. Alexander, you mentioned that sponsors can be more involved, and I'm hearing it as saying corporates can play a greater role in supporting these types of educational programs. Share with us your thoughts around how that is possible and where the opportunities lie.
Yeah, I think the opportunities lie in that thing that everything in the world has a price tag on it. So that's the first thing, that many companies want to get some part of the cake, but they want to pay for it. That's the first big problem, I think, because everything in the world has a price tag. If you want to get a new employee or a new technique or something like that, it always costs something. Time, money, human resources, what else? Everything costs something. But I think many companies think, if I want to go into the education sector and want to help some students, it's for free, but it's not. And I think that's the biggest problem. And if the companies understand that the education system, if you want to help the students to get the better version of themselves, they have to pay money, knowledge, something like that, to get the students to the next level. And I think if the companies understand this particular point, that it's not for free, I think then the possibilities will be endless, because all companies have the office or production point or something like that where you can invite students to say, hey, that's how we work, maybe look at it, do you want to work here after the school or something like that. The possibilities are endless. You can do workshops for particular parts of the challenges or something like that. So it's endless to get the students to know your company, and I think that's the big point, because I studied at my bachelor's the communication. So if you know a company, it's you are less fierce to get into the company for a job, or to call the man or the woman behind the business card and say, hey, do you have maybe a job for me? We know each other from program X or something like that. So I think that's the biggest point, to get to know and get in touch with the students, because then they will remember to you and to your company one in one way or in another way. But they will remember you because you did something good for them and did a workshop, sponsor F1 in schools or other competitions. And I think that's a big point. If you get to the students and they get to know you as a company, and they know who they can call if they had a question or something, then they will remember you as a company, and then they will come to you as the employee. Because if they feel that you are a good team in the company and you had a good environment and good workflow and so on, I think kids and students had a very special feeling for it, where it's quite good to work for and where not. And I think this skill we lose over the time, because we worked in so many companies and did our own thing and so on. Then we don't trust this feeling anymore in the past or in the later years. So I think that's the big skill of a student, to feel where the environment is good to work and where not. And if you can translate this feeling from your company to the students, they will automatically come to work for you.
Alexander, you've used a really interesting word around feeling whether a company is a good place for you to work at or not. And often we target the companies we want to work with, want to be associated, or the brands we want to be associated with, based on perhaps peer pressure, based on perhaps the quality of marketing. That often guides our aspirations, particularly in such a digitized age where you're looking at adverts on your mobile devices all the time. That sense of feeling, and you also spoke about the quality of the relationships between sponsors and participants and how that can evolve over time. Alexander, let's take the example of Team Recoil in 2023. To the extent that you are able to share this information with us, what would you say were the success factors of how the sponsor and Team Recoil worked together to deliver the achievement they did?
Yes, so I know quite well the guys from Recoil. I would call it a friend from my side. So I know really well, and I looked at them. So one of their main sponsors was Siemens, a big German company, and they invited Recoil at their summer festival. So Siemens do every summer for their employees like a summer festival at their own company headquarter in Germany for all the employees and their families. So they invited Recoil there and said, okay, we sponsor you, but please come to us and show what we are doing for you and show us the project, show the families the project, what we achieve with you until this point and what we want to achieve. And they were there one day and stand in the bright sun of southern Germany with 28 degrees in the shades, so very hot day, but they did a phenomenal job, show everyone from a 3-year-old kid to the head of construction of Siemens what they do there. And then the other part is that they always or sometimes go to their sponsors and present what they did. So they practice their verbal presentation and get the feedback from the head of construction at Siemens and something like that. And someone who works at Siemens said to me after the meeting with the team and the head constructor of Siemens, he said to the contact from Recoil, from Siemens, I want to get the contracts for these 6 guys. I can, throughout my whole team, I want these 6 guys, and they could work for me. It would work perfectly. And that shows that if you are a sponsor for a team or a sponsor for a competition, it's not only you give the money and your logo, it's the part of to work with them, work with the competition, work with the teams you maybe sponsor, and to give them your expertise. Because you are, especially in this F1 in schools, you are so in the bubble with your teachers and your parents and all the friends that you sometimes don't see something what's maybe not working quite well, because in your bubble it works well. So if something you've never seen this project or don't know so much about the project sees your presentation and says, okay, maybe work on this on this sentence, or maybe you do this or this graphic, it can be changing the whole thing. I see it on Recoil Racing. I think they did 30 practice runs all over the time with other teachers, their sponsors, and so on, that they perfectly matched the expectations of the judges, because they had the high quality sponsors and managers from the sponsor, because the sponsors were in it, and then they used their knowledge and the knowledge from the Recoil guys to do a great job and win the world championship.
It's a great example, Alexander. It almost speaks to mentorship from the sponsor side into the team, and the other way around, harvesting next generation thinking around future strategies and future innovation possibilities.
Yeah, and I think that's a big point. That's something us in Germany, as the German competition, is every time important to say. that all the judges and so on, they don't want to be mean to you, or if they give you low points, that is not because they don't like you personally or something like that. It was to the other teams in this kind of points, but always they respect the work. So no judge or something like that, though, oh, this was so bad and here and there, and they always respect the work. And I think that's one big point that you had to bring out in the real world, that companies and so on respect the work of the students, because it's a bunch of work to do in this competition, and you had to do with construct a car and something like that. And I think there's one of the points that the companies had to respect the work, what they did in the school and did after the school, and what they did. And that's something important. I see it on the World Finals. Every judge respects the work. It's their personal meanings of what is I like yellow and I like red is completely out of it. They do their work and they thought about it, and I think that's one big point to think about, that you have to respect the work of students, because they are only students and their job is to study and to learn, and then they do the extra work did such a great job at the World Finals or the regional finals, the German finals, wherever they were, they did a great job. And I think that's the important thing, that you had to respect the work of the others, because if you think on yourself, you are happy if someone else respects your work. It had not his, so it not has to be his own opinion, but he respects your work. And I think that's a big point to do for all kinds in life, to respect all the things and then think about and discuss with respect. And yeah.
I think you're lifting a very important point, because it doesn't always come naturally to a certain generation to be speaking to someone younger who has really bright solutions. I've been there. I've seen what these young participants can produce. It's to have those constructive conversations, and from the older generation side, or those who are currently in leadership positions, that's a skill that is so delicate, and it's best practiced by dealing and working with younger generations in a competition like this, because it's intergenerational models of excellence and high performance, and so there's learning happening on both sides. Thanks, Alexander. If we're looking at the future of work, it's reported that a job, for example, like AI and machine learning specialists, that role, there are going to be 1 million more jobs just for that role by 2027. Now, 2027 is not too far away. 1 million more jobs for AI and machine learning specialists, followed by sustainability specialists, and also the world is going to need a lot more business intelligence analysts. So the world of work is changing. Alexander, as a young person yourself, what are your thoughts on the future of STEM and work opportunities?
So my thoughts on the future of STEM is that if you start really early, so as your student time to be in STEM and maybe do some different competitions or so on, or are in one competition and want to be better and better, you are able to adapt at new regions that you don't know before, and after that you know. So I think the STEM education is a very important key for all the new jobs that are coming, because if you had employees who can adapt very quick for something new, if you get something new in your company or a new field of work, then you had the key to develop your own company, because if the employees can very quick adapt something new, they can learn and understand what's important. Not only learn it, to understand deeply what they're doing there and how the process works and so on. And that's, I think, the most point that we are looking at, and we had to rise up, that you are able to adapt if you do something like STEM challenges in the schools.
And you made a key point there. It's about learning to understand via application versus learning to understand to get an 80%, and you're not very sure how to apply that information. Alexander, you've been through the program. You are now the country lead in Germany. That, in my mind, is the pupil to pinnacle example. What is your advice to bright young minds out there about success?
Quite difficult question, but I try to answer it, because I think for every person, success is something different. So in my point of view, success is to be now the leader of the German competition, to have employees that follow my instructions and so on. That's my kind of success. I always wanted to be my own boss and do something like that. And for someone else, it's success to be in a good job, had a nice family at a young age and something like that. So for everyone, it's success something differently. But I think what most important is that you are, for your own success, is your field around you. So your friends or family or whoever supports you, that you have a strong field around you. And I think that's the biggest success I can put my success on. To have a great friendship with all the guys around me, had a good relationship to my parents. I mean, some children haven't that great relationship to their parents, but they have great friends, and I think it's important to sometimes ask the friends what they're thinking about it. And maybe at the beginning it's a little bit weird and awkward to ask your friend what they were doing in this particular situation, but I think if you get a new angle of you, it's the best thing you can do, because then you see it from all angles and then you can decide. And I think important is to know what success is for you personally. And if you don't know it, it's not too bad. We are all young when we are from school, and maybe you start to study in one direction and then you think, oh, no, it's not, but I want to do another direction. So I think success for me personally is it's your own luck, and I think what brings success is great relationships to people you trust.
Beautiful, Alexander. And it's that old saying of luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So to achieve success, you've got to stay at it until that success milestone arrives. And sometimes it could be quick and rapid, and sometimes it takes a good few years to get there. But you've just got to stay on that journey, and you certainly have, Alexander. So congratulations to you, to Team Germany, and wishing F1 in schools well for 2024 and the future. And watch out, the South Africans are hopefully coming soon.
Yeah, I hope that the South Africans can come up soon. So we had a new competitor in the game.
Yeah, so we are speaking to schools at the moment who are keen. Of course, sponsorships, as you've said, is a challenge, particularly with the South African issues around energy, unemployment, and growth declines. So we'll get there. The interest is there. The energy is most certainly there, and it's a matter of time. So thank you, Alexander. Just to close off with a short story, which I thought I'd share with you. Sir John Hegarty, the founder of a leading British advertising agency, came across an old poster when he visited a certain factory in Ingolstadt, Germany. The poster read, Vorsprung, durg, Technique. You might have heard that phrase before. He went back to the UK and proposed that phrase to his client, despite knowing that there are potential controversial associations with using the phrase because of the German history, but he used it anyway, and the client went with it. Fast forward 30 years later, progress through technology can only be sustained by investing in STEM skills that are future ready. And those STEM skills will be applied here on Earth and perhaps beyond Earth onto other planets, not only the automotive sector, but right across all the other industries, as Alexander has pointed out. So it's absolutely vital that in the automotive and allied sectors, whether or not the 2035 green mobility targets are met, that this investment is made and supported and committed to. So the question to schools and corporates is, how committed are you to ensuring that the next generation, our future innovators, our future leaders, can thrive? So if you could discuss this in your next board meetings, your board strategies, particularly when looking at your corporate social responsibility strategies and CSI programs, to consider STEM and the role STEM can play in your future business practice and how you can early invest in it via the right program that fits your strategy. As we say on this podcast, lift as you rise, so that with purpose you can thrive. Get in touch if you're interested in F1 in schools, or if you'd like to unpack what STEM, what strategy means in your business. Thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you again next time. Bye-bye.